Coming to you from Studio HQ, this is a new episode of the Sunder Katz. Why Sunder? We're going to be talking about something different. In today's episode is humanoids. And why cats is because we're the coolest cats in town. And speaking of a cool cat, I've got my man, Manny. What's happening?
Not much, man. Ready to talk some comics.
Absolutely. And I'm Dodgy in the mix, mixing it up to show you guys humanoids. But let's start off with their official website, humanoids.com. Manny, did you get a good look at what humanoids have to offer?
You know what? I was going to, but I couldn't. I had some trouble with the family. When my wife had to go to the doctor and stuff like that. But no, I just, and the books were the books that we read were so long. I was like, man, I'll focus on these books.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine, man. So look, Humanoids is a great place if you're looking to pick up books. They do have the latest releases as well as past releases. So if you're looking for some amazing content, Humanoids is a place to be. And just to give you guys a bit of a backstory, so Humanoids started way back, and hear this, Manny, way back in 1974. So they were named at the time Les Humanoids Associés. Apologies for my terrible French. But this was the nickname. Yes, indeed. So this was a name given to three creators, and one of them you will know. I think any comic book fan would know, and that is Mobius.
Yeah,
Jean-Pierre Dinet and Philippe Droulet. Apologies for my French again. So these are like the trio were named the Humanoids because they were like the founding fathers of French modern comics. Wouldn't really say of overall comics, but in terms of modern comics. And they started a magazine calling themselves the Howling Metal, which was Hule Metal. That was what eventually soon to become Heavy Metal magazine, right?
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So this magazine was like, I think it was a 48-page, 16 pages in color, was basically an anthology magazine, which is now what you see in heavy metal, right? It has that similar foundation. Not only did they have French Belgian creators, but they also hired American artists like Richard Corbin, as well as one you may know, Bernie Wrightson. So from 1974 to 2013, the head office of Humanoids was in Paris, and then moved to Los Angeles from 2013 onwards to now tailor for more of the American audiences, bringing along all this amazing European talent. So a lot of the books that we're going to be talking to you today about will be of European comics. So as Manny said, they are quite long, so they aren't your traditional 32-page floppies. These are oversized graphic novels, right? Not as big as some of the graphic novels we're used to for the American audience or American audience. So definitely worth checking out. And again, we got some amazing news from the Humanoids website, one of which is the movie coming out of the Inkall. The Inkall is actually a comic book made by Alejandro Jodorowsky and Mobius. Okay, so this is what an image of what the video is really worth a check out. I know many of you haven't watched it, so when we finish recording, jump onto Humanoids website and watch this 3-minute video because it's amazing. You get an introduction by Jodorowsky as well as with the director Taika Waititi, the New Zealand director who directed Thor Ragnarok. He's a massive comic book fan, which I only learned about the other day. So definitely worth checking out. But before we move on to the amazing books of Humanoids, Manny, tell us what's happening on the 1st of October.
Well, the 1st of October is Buying the Comics Day. It's a day to celebrate indie comics, indie creators. We actually, I have some news. This comic book shop from Canada reached out to me, and they're already set up. Yeah, they already told me they're gonna do an event. They're gonna invite creators, so we're excited. It's early, and they're already hopping, on board. So that's good news.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And where can we find out about Indie Comics Day?
Well, you can find out about us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're everywhere, man. Anywhere you can find buy Indie Comics Day, and you're gonna find us.
Fantastic. You so any episode from Sunder Katz or Think Indie is going to be showcasing by Indie Comics Day every episode. So check us out. Check out what's in store, and reach out to your local comic book store and ask them, why aren't you involved in Buy Indie Comics Day?
Yep.
Because believe me, you're going to get butts indoors. You're going to get people indoors. So do yourself a favor and make sure that your local comic book shop jumps on board. Thank you, Manny.
Yeah,
All right.
man.
Now we're jumping into the book discussions. The first book was a bit of an eye-opener visually, and I truly enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed the art design in this. This is
Yeah.
a book called Asphalt Blues by Joël Salon. So another French creator. So again, I just love what they do. They showcase the original writer, the original editor, and then they have the translation director, which I think is amazing. Just shows the audiences that this is a translated book from
Yep.
another language. Maddie, what did you think of the art style in Asphalt Blues?
Man, it's very graphic designy type of.
Mhm.
It's very it almost when you look at the cover, it almost looked like a GTA game cover.
I
It's
know,
almost like
right?
right. I was like, man, that looks dope.
Yeah,
It looks like a poster you would see on a art
video game.
magazine or a
Hmm.
fancy magazine or a billboard
Hmm.
in New York almost. And I was like, man, I
Yeah.
look that cover looks dope. But when you actually read the comic, the whole comic is like that. It's
Hmm.
very design. It's very design heavy, and I was like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And what's shocking to me is that from the cover, it doesn't give you an idea of anything in particular.
Hmm.
it's very vague. But
Hmm.
this book is so deep. It goes
Hmm.
into so many deep themes, and I was like, oh, I was not expecting that at all.
Hmm. No, you're not wrong. And even if you look at this page here, right, you got a lot of pinks and a lot of blues. It's almost
Yeah,
like maybe four colors that we're seeing all up, even though they're two very detailed panels.
yeah,
Yet when you turn to the next page with the car chase scene, it looks like something you got from Akira, even,
yeah,
right? With the
yeah,
lights and the lights are carrying on through the skidding of the car. I think this is amazing,
yeah.
amazing art design.
It almost feels like when you take an image and you manipulate it on Photoshop and you
Hmm.
make it really abstract, and the saturation, you play with it and stuff like that, you come up with
Yeah.
images like that. And
Hmm.
the artist might have done that, but if he did that for that whole comic book, that's a lot of work.
Yes,
So he
indeed.
he probably didn't, because I think it would be too much work, much more than if you actually drew the thing.
I
So
know,
I
right?
don't know.
Unless he drew like say 90% of it and just added the effects using Photoshop, then maybe that's
Yeah,
where it could have could have given it the effect. But I
yeah,
do like the fact it does have that photorealism feel to it, but it's not overdone.
right, right,
It doesn't
right.
feel like it's oversaturated the book that you feel like, oh man, it's just like someone just took photos and colored it in. It doesn't look like that at all, but
No,
it feels like amazing. And you feel the grittiness. It goes a completely different color, and then we see this panel right here. It's very warm. I feel like if I'm there right now, I can feel that
summer.
sunlight on me. I wish I could get that sunlight on me right now with the way the weather is at the moment. I just wish.
And it's crazy how your eyes, when you first see the cover and you see the first few pages, you have to almost adjust your eyes, because it's not what you're expecting. Especially if
Exactly.
you read comic books, you expect a lot of line work, a lot of
Hmm.
details. This is very like I said, it's almost abstract. but then your
Hmm.
eyes keep adjusting, and by the time you finish the book, you're like on board. You're fully into that page. It's crazy
Yeah.
how it works.
Yes, and I like it feels like art. So I feel like I'm looking at an art book as well as a comic book.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like if you look at this page here again, I'm referring to what the visuals are of the I don't even know what you call it, like parachuting.
yeah,
Like that looks amazing. Like it looks absolutely amazing.
yeah. It does, and you can see the landscape in the background.
Hmm.
And the craziest part is you don't see, like I said, you don't see any details, but you know exactly what you're looking at, and you, oh man, it's
Exactly.
so freaking dope.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, it's like an abstract painting. It's just you see dots and you kind of know what it is, right?
Right.
But there's
But
really, no matter how you look at it, there's no wrong answer.
no, no, it's yeah, this is not what I was expecting, but so glad that I read it. So glad that
Hmm.
we're discussing it.
Yeah, and I do like the relationship between the guy and the girl. Like he is a bit of a jerk, but at the
Yeah,
same time, he's still building that relationship with this girl. Like, you know what I mean? It's just it's a really good partnership between the two characters.
yeah,
Um, although he's not deserving of her trust at times, but yeah, he still earns it.
yeah. He doesn't want to pull the trigger, I guess.
I guess not. Um, but yeah, definitely worth checking out if you're looking for something like. And I think too, this would actually make a pretty decent movie. I think it'd be more of a movie based story than a comic book. But
Yeah,
like that thing, right? You could have an amazing story in your head for a movie, but if you don't get the opportunity to make this movie, make it into a comic book. At least you're telling the story, right?
yeah, yeah. This feels like it feels like a movie or like a Netflix type of series. I would see it
Yeah,
like that too.
yes, indeed. All right, moving on. We're going to check out the next story. We see a familiar name here. So this is Space Bastards Tooth and Mail Part 1. Written by Joe Aubrey and Eric Patterson, and the familiar name is the art by Derek Robertson.
Right.
Bro, this was a wicked tale right here.
Yeah.
This was a wicked tale. It's almost like imagine if FedEx went wrong, right?
Terribly wrong.
Yeah, making commission. So the amount of times that this parcel changes hands, the original sender earns commission for every time it changes hands. And
Right.
yet the results of how these gets passed on person to person is diabolical. So Manny, I just love to hear your insight. What did you think of the art design? Like Derek Robertson being a name known throughout Europe as well as in the US.
Oh
Having
man.
worked on the boys and new warriors, what did you think?
Oh man, I love this artwork. The cover
Mhm,
is obviously the cover is just insane, but is the whole everything about this book I like, and
mhm,
it's such a like a wild ride. You think you know what's happening, but like
mhm.
in page 5 or 6, you're like, okay, what the hell is going on right now? The person
Yeah,
you think is the main character is out of the picture, and there's just it's a free for all. It's such a crazy concept, man. It's so fun. It's almost like it's like if Lobo was a
mhm.
postal delivery guy. This is literally. I mean, look at him.
Yes,
He's
exactly.
Lobo. It's so crazy, man. I was like, what in the
Yeah.
world? And then the
Yes,
space.
no, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong there with the
Yeah,
comparison. Um, but no, I just love the story and the main guy, the human.
yeah,
It's amazing how far he transformed. Right
right.
from the beginning, he was like an accountant, I believe. Like he was working a real pen pushing job.
Yeah,
Wore glasses. He looked really innocent, naive. and just very like his life isn't really going anywhere. Then he's granted this opportunity, and then he's built up this responsibility, and then it's like kill or be killed. So he had the fight or flight method to him as well that he had to undertake, which wow, what he became in the end was very different to what he was in the beginning, and I love that. It was a real eye opener.
Yeah, it's kill or be killed literally, not just like in a metaphor. No, it's actually you either kill or you're gonna be dog food. uh,
Exactly.
yeah, it's there's so many cool things about this story.
Hmm.
Like the spaceship, how the dog fights from the spaceships, the different weapons they use. Like you say, David is the main character. How he comes from just being a nobody
Yeah.
to actually teaching a lesson to the main big bad and be like, nah, I don't, I can do this on my own. It's a
Mhm.
cool story, and you can tell there's a lot more stories coming from that. I just think I wonder if they're actually gonna be enemies or if they're gonna be partners. I don't know. I
Friendly.
have a feeling they're gonna be like the main antagonist. He's gonna be the main
Yeah,
antagonist.
I think so too. Yeah, and you're right. Even if they were teaming up, they're not friends. They're going to be
No,
frenemies. So they were going to work together with with a contract,
yeah,
but
it,
but it's
it,
a major but.
yeah. It's such a fun story. It's cool because it was like we say, none of these books are regular page counts. All of them
Mhm.
are long, but this one you fly by the story. It's just so much fun.
Yes, indeed. And I think it's up to 2 volumes now. And I think this is not a volume. This is just an issue.
Yeah,
So, and it was oversized. I believe it was 48 pages. So you get 48 pages of madness in this book.
literally. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
It's
and it's
so cool.
and it's one of the rarer books too that is not translated from any other language. So I believe
Right.
the entire creative team. I know Derek is British. I believe Joe Aubrey as well as Eric Peterson are both British as well. So this is not translated from any other language, but in saying that though, it will be translated to other languages back in Europe. So yeah, I thought this was loads of fun.
And there's one thing I wanted to point out that
Yep.
that I don't talk about it too much, but on this book I noticed it very much. It was the quality of the lettering,
Hmm.
the different fonts, how they organize the word balloons, the sound
Yes.
effects that they use. Man, everything
Mhm.
works so perfectly. So
Yeah.
shout out to the letterer, man. He did a bang up job, I swear.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong there because I found it very easy to follow. It wasn't over the top, and the story too. If you're looking for something original,
Yep.
the letter has to shout out to Simon Bowland.
Yeah.
Simon Bowland, you did an
He
amazing job.
he,
Thank
he
you.
did. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but yeah, the art is amazing. Derek's quality is always consistent.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Look at the
I think it's
spaceship,
better with age
the
though.
manicorn.
Yes, or
It's
it's like
so
a sheep's
crazy.
head.
Yeah, like a
A
dragon's
sheep's
head, I
skull.
guess.
Yeah, a sheep's skull. Um, But no,
Yeah.
it is fun. And as we can see here in this panel, parcel transfer. That's how one accumulates income or commission based on how many times it passed hands. And usually, it's not life; it's usually death as a result of passing hands. So
Yeah.
it is a blood sport. But I just wonder if this is the similar concept we're going to get in future stories, or if it's just going to be something completely different. I mean, you never know. But I think
Yeah.
this one was amazing.
It was.
Tooth and Mail. Tooth and Mail.
And
Makes sense.
it's crazy how even in space the casino owners are Native Americans.
Mhm.
It's so funny.
Yes, it is. But no, it is fun, and do yourself a favor and check it out.
No
That
doubt.
is Space Busters. And then we'll move on to a different space story. And this one, I don't know. In my opinion, I saw Mobius written all over it in terms of the art sequence. This book
Yep.
is called The Meta Barons by Alejandro Dorowski. So the co-creator, one of the original Les Humanoids, he wrote this with art by Juan Gimenez.
Jimenez, yeah.
Yes. And then we can see the translators here. So this is translated from French as well. And I mean, look at this art. I mean, oh my goodness. Manny,
Man,
what did you think of the art design in this book?
man, man. Literally speechless, man. When I saw this, I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta step up my game." Man, it's so amazing, dude. Every page can be in a museum. Seriously,
Oh yes, even the
and
panel.
yeah, and it's all done traditionally. This is not Photoshop or anything like that. This is
No.
all hand painted. Oh my god, man. The story in itself is really dope. It's from another planet. It's a lot of concepts that they talk about. But I found a few flaws with the story itself. But the
Mm-hmm.
artwork is so insane. It's so
Mm-hmm.
amazing that it's just you almost don't care. You're like, oh whatever. This I'll just look at it. It's I mean seriously, every page is just a sight to behold, man.
Yes. And I mean, if you look at this page alone, look at the detail in the gauntlet or the robotic hand that we see right here. Like just the detail in the fingers. Um, it's
No,
just something. It's something else, right?
it's crazy. Oh my god,
Yes.
look at that.
Yeah. So we're looking at right here as a spaceship, and it looks like something we would get from Aliens or some cosmic movie. Or the detail in this almost make you believe that this is a drawing of a real ship,
Yeah.
right?
It's almost like you're watching a movie.
Yeah, no, it really is. And as I said, this is like a Mobius, like a homage, because this looks like something Mobius would draw. And oh my goodness gracious me! If I just had that as a panel without the word balloons, it would be up in it would be up in my wall. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Yes. Um, yeah. So going into the story, it is quite a deep story. It does have a feeling of a bit of, how can I say, oppression, as
Yeah.
well as imperialism, where you
Yeah.
have the species. So the main protagonists, they're basically a tribe of working people. So they do the heavy lifting. They have this magical serum that they take that gives them superhuman strength to do work that no other species can do. You know, like, and they had to hide it from their employers because they didn't want their employers to see that they had the ability to lift this massive marble slate,
Right.
which was absolutely huge. I think it would have been maybe like 24 feet tall, right? It was a huge slab of
Oh
marble,
yeah. Yeah.
and they lifted it and moved it aside when one of their friends got stuck underneath, and they had to lift it to get him out. Whereas initially they thought, you know, we'll just let him die because we've got the employers looking at us. They don't want us they don't want to be seen lifting it themselves. And I think
Yeah.
that was a great piece of the story. And the pacing I felt was a bit long, but I guess that could be the European way of writing stories. And that's
Yeah.
the thing that, you know, sometimes when we look at American comics or even British comics, they try to avoid lengthy dialogue when explaining something, but that could be just the European way. And we just have to appreciate what we get, because this is a story we wouldn't get any other way, really, especially in the English language. Um,
Yeah. Because they don't do the monthly thing. They do long scope stories.
Mhm. Exactly. Yes, Othon is the main protagonist, and he's got a son named Bari.
Barry. Yeah.
And Yeah, Bari, and Bari was his soon to be inheritor of his tribe.
Right,
I mean, seriously, look at the art here. Like,
man.
it's and like this is a scene. I think it was Othon who got caught underneath this fallen marble, and
Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, if you look at this, this is just a very simple scene, but the artwork just makes it like
It's just crazy.
mind blowing, right? It's just mind blowing, and I think kudos to the colorist as well because this is not colors we're used to seeing. We might get this from like a 2000 AD or a heavy metal magazine.
Which is European.
Yes, exactly. Well, there,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the point. So it's very different, and it's great to have this as a difference, like a different contrast to what we used to seeing.
And
And
one cool detail about it is that the story, you're seeing everything that happened, but the story is being told by one little robot, and he's telling the story to his friend, and the robot who's listening, he's blowing fuses every every few pages. He blows a fuse, and he's like, "Hold on, I need to change my fuses. You're burning my fuse."
because the story, because as far as the bigger robot was concerned, the story was amazing, and he's just
Yeah,
cannot contain himself.
it's so crazy, man. That's a cool touch.
I
It's a
totally
good.
forgot. I actually totally forgot about that. But no, it is amazing. And the finale of the book, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but the finale, it's hilarious.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. But there's it's so there's I don't know if I want to say too much, but there's part of the story with Othon and his son that as soon as he says something, I knew exactly what was gonna happen,
Hmm.
and but I didn't know exactly how it was gonna happen, but I knew what was gonna happen. But
Hmm.
I was I was like, man, but like I said, it's just okay. Yeah, I know what's gonna happen, but look at this artwork. I cannot take my eyes off of this thing.
Yes, exactly. And I just wonder if there's watercolors that we're looking at here. I'm not a colors expert, so would you have an idea of how they colored this?
I believe that's acrylics. That's acrylic
Acrylic.
paint. But there's a method that you use acrylic paint. And I that's how I like to paint it. You
Hmm.
take the acrylic paint and you dip it a little bit. You dip your brush in water and you
Hmm.
kind of dilute the paint a little bit, and you
Hmm.
almost paint like it's watercolor. But
Yeah,
when it
that's.
but when it dries, it the texture feels different and it looks different on the page. So
Hmm.
that's why you're looking. It looks at in some parts it looks like watercolor. It looks like very diluted, almost you barely see any paint, but that's just acrylic. That's the way they use it. And
Yeah.
they add copy not copy what do you say Prismacolor pencils, color pencils,
Hmm.
like high end ones
Yes.
that you can do some detailing on, and it's like I said, every page is so much work went into each page that it's hard for me to find anything negative about it. This is master class of what it is to make a comic book.
Yeah, and in my opinion as well, I think this book is maybe like you got to read it two or three times to really appreciate it because there is a lot happening at once, and it's like watching a movie. You might watch a movie twice, and you pick up two different elements that you're like, oh, okay, that's different. Like I didn't pick it up last time, and there's so much happening in this book. I think, Manny, and I think that you may not appreciate as much reading it the first time. You might appreciate more reading it two or three more times
Yeah,
because it is one of those books you can read over and over again. Um,
no doubt, no doubt.
yeah, but I look, look. This is not a major spoiler, but I do love that the story concludes because the robots have to serve their masters lunch or something, like or
Because he's
dinner.
coming to see that.
Yeah, it was like that time, and then the bigger robot's furious because the story gets cancelled.
He says tomorrow, and he said, "You meanie."
Yeah, but but
Oh
you know,
man.
like I thought that was hilarious, but even as myself, I'm like, what?
I want to
That's it?
know.
Like that's it? Like, and it's true. That was it. And we like, and at the best part or the most traumatic slash the cliffhanger part, it ends because of that robot's got to serve his master food. But it's genius, absolutely genius, because I would actually rather that, because then there'll be an issue number 2, which there is. So this is not just a one-off series. This is an ongoing, or when I say ongoing, I think there's a few chapters
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
Meta Barons, but
It's funny
like,
because it's funny because this is the way I always thought of C-3PO. Like him and R2D to live through the Clone Wars, live through all those wars. And when Luke asked him, "So what happened? Tell me about it." He said, "Well, we didn't really see nothing." I'm like, "Are
yeah,
you serious, dude? You were through it all." But this little robot, he remembers all of it, so he's telling the whole
yeah.
story, which is I love it.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, C3PO was just, he's tunnel vision. You know what I mean? He only cares about what he cares about. So
He's
obviously he
best.
wasn't paying attention. But
Yeah,
again, Meta Barons is definitely worth a check out. It is a masterpiece. Like we've
it
got one of
is.
the Le Humanoids. So it's written by a master. And when I saw the interview with, like it's like a mock interview with Alejandro Jodorowsky about the Incol, about the film coming out, when just listen to him talk, my God, bro, you'll just be like, it's like a Stan Lee level of passion, of creativity,
Wow.
of expression. He speaks half English and half French. Um,
Oh wow.
because yeah, so it's great. It's great. It's a great interview, and I'm so happy. My only wish was, I think I wish Mobius were around to witness it, because
Yeah.
like Mobius he's basically one of the comic book pillars of the industry. He's up there with the likes of Kirby Lee, Wes Eisner. Like he's up there. He's one of the top pillars.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
and what he did for the cinema industry as well. You look at movies like Alien, Tron. He did all the visual designs for those movies. His only regret,
Yeah.
he turned down Blade Runner, but I actually thought he did Blade Runner because it has that Mobius feel to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, he regrets turning that down, because look at the alien design. That was all Mobius right there. Um,
Yeah.
so this book here has got that, it does have the Mobius influence, and I can't speak that name enough. But do yourself a favor and check out Metahumans, an amazing book. And
Yeah.
speaking of amazing, right? We've got a new book. It is sad though, in my opinion, that this is a book we're reading now with the way that the world is at the moment,
Right.
especially for the country of Ukraine. This book is called Mark No, Ukrainian Freedom Fighter. This is a biography piece about Nestor Markno, apologies, and it's written by French creators Philippe Therault, he's the writer, and Roberto Zangi is the artist. Um, Amazing colorist. Like you can see the credits right there. We've got Annalise um, Sauveterre. Apologies, I'm butchering all these names. Sebastian Gerard. And then Nanette McGuinness is the translator. So, Manny, I want to hear your opinion. What did you think of Markno?
Man, this is my favorite from all the ones that we read. This
Mm-hmm.
is I absolutely fell in love with this book. I just bought it on a graphic novel on Amazon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just bought the whole graphic novel. But it's not a graphic. It is a graphic novel, but I bought the hardbound
Mm-hmm.
book. But yeah, it's I'm a history fanatic. So
Mm-hmm.
we were talking, off camera, that it was a shame that we didn't know about the story. I didn't know about the story at all,
Yeah.
and I was so enthralled. Like halfway through the story, I was like, "Is this a real character? Like, did this really happen?" So I almost stopped reading and searched for information, but I was like, "Nah, I'm gonna power through this."
Mm-hmm.
And I remember actually reaching out to you on Twitter and be like, so what are we supposed to read one chapter? And you were like, well, you can read, as much as you want. And I said, all right, I'll read the whole thing.
Yeah, I read the whole thing too.
It's
Like,
so
it
amazing,
wouldn't
man.
do it justice to read one chapter.
Oh man, no, I couldn't keep my eyes over. I couldn't stop reading. Um,
Same.
and the artwork, when you see the cover is absolutely amazing, absolutely
Mhm.
beautiful. The artwork on the inside, to give you an idea of what it looks like on the inside, is, and this is high praise. It feels like Joe Kubert drew this.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yes, and look,
yeah.
Joe Kubert is right there with me with Kirby. Those are my two guys in comic books. And
Mm-hmm.
for me to even mention his name is it's highest of the
Major
praises that I
praise.
can give. Yes. So when I saw the cover, I was like, yeah, it looks amazing. I don't think it's gonna look as good on inside. And I was like, holy crap! Is, man, everything, like, again, the detail, the angles, um, just the facial expression. It's Cuber, man. Who The artist that did this book is another one of the masters, and it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy that I haven't heard about him, but
Mm-hmm.
I will definitely be looking for anything that he does from now on, because it was absolutely beautiful, and the story
Yeah,
is amazing.
yeah. And there's a lot of sections in the book. It was kind of hard to take your eyes off, but at the same time, there are things in there that are so gripping.
It is, man.
Oh, it's just like it's sad. It really is. There's a lot of moments where you want to take your eyes off it because it's so devastatingly sad. But that's the
Yeah.
thing. But you're right. I was in the same boat. Never heard of this. I thought this was a book just in time for the war happening in Ukraine, and I thought
Right.
this was just something that happened like maybe just now. And then I looked. It was like, oh, okay. It's like this starts way back in 19. Sorry, yeah, like 1909, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then they take it back to when he was a child, even earlier than that. Um,
1800s,
yeah, in the 1800s. Yeah, he was
late
born
1800s.
1888. He was born, and
Yeah.
like, and then when they saw Nestor and then Markner, and I was getting confused. I went into obviously Doctor Google, and Doctor Google told me his name was Nestor Markner, and I was like, oh, okay, now it's making sense. And then
Yeah.
I deliberately didn't read any more content because I wanted to get it from the book. And then
Right.
after the book, I went and like Google searched the absolute crap out of this character or out of this person,
Yeah.
um, and found out that he was quite, he was quite young looking. Even when he was in his 20s and 30s, he still looked relatively young. Um, and yeah, it was just such a sad story that he separated from his his young love and then reunited with her much later in life, and
Yeah.
just the circumstances that those two were in, like, oh man, it was a hard story to read at times because it's so sad.
Yeah.
Um, but it's an absolute fight of just freedom. His parents were serfs, so serfs were like the original slaves of Russia, whereas when the
Yeah.
serfdom was you know um, when it was abolished, then obviously all the serfs became poor peasants, and and the parents
Yeah.
wanted their young boy to become a Cossack and learn the ways to become a warrior, and
Right.
therefore he could build a name for himself because serfdom at that time was only abolished 20 years, and yeah, like Manny, this was just an amazing story, and I do love the fact that they're keeping the original spelling of a lot of Russian name. Sorry,
Yeah.
a lot of Ukraine names are now been reverted from Russian to the correct Ukrainian way of spelling and pronunciation. Like Kiev was known for a long time as being the capital city, but that's the Russian pronunciation or the way you say it in Russian. Now it's called Kiev. Kiev is the correct pronunciation.
Keith. Yeah.
Yeah, so Kiev is basically the capital of the Ukraine. And you can see it here, names and places in authentic Ukrainian rather than Russian spellings.
Yeah.
That's what I like about this. And
It's so it's so crazy because like we were talking off camera. You people think that with this whole war that's happening in Ukraine, that this is a recent thing, and this has been happening for ever, for
Yeah,
hundreds of years. This story is basically the same thing as the independence from Ukraine
mhm,
to from Russia. They're trying to, take control of them, and the Ukrainians are not having it. So
exactly.
from the 1800s and 19 early 1900s, they're still going through that battle. You're not gonna take control of us, and sadly, it seems like it's gonna continue.
Yes, and they had war with the Bolsheviks, the Germans during World War One, whereas Germany invaded Russia through the Ukraine. So, and
Yep.
then we see Markno fighting, like, and he was very much on the firing line, and he got angry with one of his lieutenant or a couple of his lieutenants. He's
Yeah.
like, "Why aren't you sleeping with your men? Why are you having all this luxury? Do you need all this luxury? Why are you having all these beautiful ornaments and stuff that you stole from villages, whereas you're supposed to be hanging out with your soldiers?" And the lieutenant's like, "Oh no, that's not what I do." But you
And he
can see the
shot him.
different. Yeah, very shallow, right?
He
Where
wasn't messing around.
yeah, so Magno was like the kind of guy that he'll fight with his men to the very end and not play the I'm in charge, so obviously I don't have to get on the firing line. No,
Yeah,
to hell
no,
with
no,
that. But there were times though that he made bad decisions. Like, I'm not going to say that everything he did was perfect. He did make bad decisions. But some of the scenes, bro, of the hangings and also the defooting when they cut off the soldiers' feet, like, oh,
man.
bro, that really got me.
No, and to think that it happened is what's crazy. You can see crazy things in movies, but to know that this is an actual biography of and a story of things that happened is mind blowing. Like when this girl that she was the she rode horses, and she was the leader of the cavalry for Magno,
Hmm.
and when they captured her, they were like, "We're not gonna cut your feet. I know you would love to die with your horse." And they throw her in a ditch with the horse and bury her
Yeah,
alive.
Here Alive, yes.
And I'm like, Jesus, man. And I was even showing my wife, and she was like, "Oh my God." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, this is crazy." It's an amazing story that it not only because it's of Ukraine and everybody's talking about Ukraine right now. It's such an epic story. Talk about a story that should be an epic movie, man. I mean, this
Yeah.
story is incredible.
Has a Braveheart feel to it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And he wasn't, like you mentioned, he wasn't just sending his fighters and just staying behind. No, he was in the front lines. Win or
Yes.
lose, made a mistake or make the right choice, he was in the front lines. And if we die, I die. That's the way it is. It's, and who wouldn't follow a leader like that,
Exactly. And even Leon Trotsky tried to kill him as well, like, and he got away.
And
Far out.
even his friend at the end. Oh man, it's such a heartbreaking story, man.
Yeah.
It's truly he went through hell, man.
Yeah, because he had to do something that he would always regret. But I
Yeah, he
mean, you think
was.
about it, to the end of his life, he was only 45. That's insane.
Talk about, man, what a life.
I know, right?
In 45 years old, 40 something years old, he people, if you read this story, you're not gonna believe that all the things that
Yeah.
happen in that little
He was in,
time.
yeah, and he was in prison for like 9 years in his
Yeah,
teens. From his teens until he was released when he was 27. And from 20, yeah, for 20 when
yeah.
he was age 27, he was in jail for 9 years. Like, that's crazy.
So if you think about it, in a span of 10 years, he fought all those wars, because then he went and built his own family, right?
Hmm.
And he was really sick, but
Yeah,
in the span of like 10 years, he wreaked havoc on the Russians, man.
I know, right? He was known throughout Russia as being. And it's funny though, the Russians tried to use him, and then they saw no use for him, and then they wanted to get rid of him. But
He
he
would.
wasn't one to be rid of that easy. It was just until like I think Stalin wanted him gone. But I mean, you're right about the art. The art is amazing. The storytelling is phenomenal.
It is.
Not gonna lie about that. You
It
just
is.
read it and just feel something. Like I felt uneasy at times reading this because of
Yeah.
how surreal it felt. But if it were real, like it'd be absolutely horrible how humans can treat each other. Um,
Yeah.
but in saying that, though, this book was released in 2014, and on the last page, it does show a commemoration or meeting together of the people of Kiev about Russia wanting to invade Ukraine back in 2014. So this war that we're seeing now is just basically Russia
That,
like pulling the plug and going, "Yep, that's it. We're gonna
yep.
crush the Ukraine." But they
Yep.
actually tried to invade Ukraine back in 2014, and it never really escalated because Ukraine gave up some of their land to Russia, and Russia was happy. But now Russia wants the whole country, or actually, they really want the eastern half where
Yeah.
the
They
oil.
get right. Right. They in the 2014 they gave up, I think, Crimea and
Crimea, that's
another
right.
region. So now
Yes.
they want the whole east side, which is all the oil and all the stuff. So they're like,
Yeah,
nah.
and like that's where the money's being made for to support Ukraine. Like Ukraine's going to give up, going to give up their heart. How's the rest of the body going to function? You know what I mean?
Nah. Yeah. Nah.
And
Nah.
that's the problem. So, look, and I'm really glad we're seeing this book now, considering the way the world was. But you're right from the beginning, Manny. This has been happening for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
This is something that hasn't really stopped.
And it
But
won't
I think
stop.
it won't stop. But I'm really glad that we had to witness heroes of the times, like Markno. Nestor Markno, do yourself a favor, check it out, check him out. Haven't found any good documentaries on him yet, but I'd love to watch one to actually tell us the story. But this autobiography that we've got here in graphic novel form is amazing. And the
Yes.
thing I appreciate as well, Manny, mwah, the fact is too that this is written by a French collaboration. So they're telling the story in an honest way without any, we're not getting any, what's the word I'm
Bias.
looking for? Bias. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's no bias in telling the story. It is told how it was written. So, again, we're getting no Ukrainian influences and we're getting no Russian influence, just a very honest story. And
Yeah.
do yourself a favor and check this out. And you know what? In saying that, though, I thought Meta Barons was hard to beat, but you're right. This was probably the best book
Man.
of the bunch.
I
And,
was I was I fell in love with this book.
yes, same.
And
Same
you know
because
what
I'm
you know
thinking.
yeah, and you know what I felt when I read this book? The same thing I felt when I read Facts from Sarajevo from Joe
Mhm,
Kubert. It's
mhm.
a story about a Jewish family. Uh, Man, yeah, y'all need to read that book as well. But this is just as good. I mean, amazing, amazing story.
Yes, definitely. Yes, do yourself a favor and check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the art doesn't disappoint.
Oh my
There are a
God.
few pin-up pages at the end, and also the written biography as well, which is great. So you're getting like kind of like a serialized, but it's not. I think it goes for 4 pages of text, so you can
Yeah.
go through and read the transcript of what the comic book is telling us, and that's the great
Yeah.
thing about graphic novels that it expands the story, jumps scene to scene, feels fluid, so it's easier to follow.
Yeah.
Um, but overall, it is a book to keep you thinking. Um, so
Absolutely.
yeah. So do yourself a favor. Humanoids is a publisher not to look over. Unfortunately, there are many books that we wish we could cover. The Incold being one of them as well, being released as a movie. So kind of excited to see what that movie is going to look like because um, obviously Waititi is a very visual creator. So will he give us some of that Mobius feel to it? Lord, no one will know until we get to see the movie. But Manny, Never be. Have you ever read a Humanoids book before today?
I haven't. I haven't, and I've never. Honestly, I've never even read of the imprint. And like I
Hmm.
said, I will be reading more and following these creators because I mean, all the books that we read are amazing in their own right.
Hmm. Yes, and four very different books, and told differently,
Yeah,
expressed visually differently. And that's the great thing about what we witnessed is that we didn't read any two books that were the same. They were all very different. And
absolutely.
yeah, and that's the thing. European comics should not be overlooked.
Oh my God, no.
They are out there. They are accessible. We just need to go out and look for them.
Yeah, and actually, and when it comes to like globally, European comics are looked upon as much higher form of artwork than American comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess when we look at when we think about comics, we think immediately Batman, Superman, Spider Man, whatever.
Hmm.
But there's a lot more out there, man. There's a lot more out there.
Because yeah, if you think about it, like Herge with Tintin, and
Oh
then
my
we've
God,
got
yeah,
Peyo. So Peyo is the creator of the Smurfs.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
yeah, Peyo was around a lot longer than what we see in the US market, but they're famous, but they just don't sit in the same criteria as the superhero comics. But they have been around just as long, if not
Oh my
longer.
God, oh my God,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and the formula is very similar.
And you know
Um,
what I just realized? A lot of creators from Europe, comic book creators, they for some reason they like to use one name. They have
mhm,
obviously their full name, but creators like Moritat and Peyo, like you just mentioned, there's a bunch of them. The creator of
mhm,
Tintin, the same thing. And I just realized the one of the my favorite artists currently is uh oh my God, Moritat.
mhm,
He works a lot with Jimmy Palmiotti. He did that whole All Star Western, and
mhm.
he again his name is just he writes his name as Moritat, but I'm sure that's not his real name. It's just a pseudonym. So I guess that's a thing up there,
Yeah, well, I mean, if you even think about Jock,
right? There
Jock
you
is an
go.
artist from the UK.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and one thing about Payo was actually a nickname given because his name is Pierre Collifield, and he actually is half British, half French or Belgian. And the reason
Okay.
why he nicknamed himself Payo is because the way that the British would pronounce his name, or his British relatives. They couldn't
Ah.
pronounce Pierre properly. They called him Payo, so he went by Payo.
Okay. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, he just gave himself that nickname. And I mean, you think about Mobius, you're right. They all have one names, but obviously it's
Yeah.
not their real names. It's just I don't know. And I think a lot of creators are not doing that, but I think some do. Like you think about Matt Friction, he goes by Matt Fraction. It's actually not his real name either.
Ah.
Or
I guess
Dennis
that's an
Hopeless is not
artist
his
thing
real
because
name.
even with Picasso, nobody called him Pablo Picasso. They call him Picasso. Just that's it.
Exactly, one name, right?
Michelangelo, Da Vinci. I guess
Hmm.
that's a thing. I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been amazing. It's been loads of fun hanging out with Manny, talking about uh, the Humanoids, Humanoids publisher. Check them out. They are available at your local comic book store. So even though this name may not be known to you, but they will be known to the stores that you frequent. So do yourself a favor,
Yeah.
go there and ask them, do you have any Humanoids books? You would be surprised at what you'll find. Believe
Oh
me.
my God. Yes.
Yes, you may find floppies, you might find trades. Yeah, not a book to overlook, or not a publisher to overlook, because their books are amazing. Um,
Highly, highly, highly recommended.
Most definitely. Well, on behalf of the Sunder Katz, this is a Comic Crusaders podcast or vidcast. So please check us out at comiccrusaders.shop and also subscribe to the other amazing content from Comic Crusaders. On behalf of Dodgy and Manny, we're going to kick it off with Sunder!
Sunder,
Thunder!
Sunder Cats.
Oh! We did it!
Yay!
Tommy was a bit off, but yeah, we nailed it. Great work. See you guys next time.
All right, man.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.shop. Also follow along with all of the websites in the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.